Alright you guys, here's the full video for Dodge Ram seat vertical up and down repair. You can see we start by pulling off the side electrical components and the handle. Next we move pulling out the bolts that hold the seat down to the floor. As you guys can see, pull that off, it's just clipped. Put that to the side. And that's got to be pushed through. Without taking it off, you cannot push it back in through the seat. Next we've got, these are 18 millimeters, I believe the fronts are 15. There's 4 of them. You may need a breaker bar, and there's actually 3 you got to remove under that, or actually 4 under that middle glove compartment. I only removed 3 because the 4th one's hard to get to, but and then you've also got 4 under here. These are 13s. There's holding down the seat, as you guys can see. 1, and there's the other one, and they're also in the rear. Those are 13s. So then don't forget there's actually 4 under there, and you got to remove them. They're 13 millimeters. I only pulled out 3, just enough to pivot it. Next we move to this. We got to remove this rear plastic thing, enough just to be able to move a wrench underneath it. See, that way it pops up. After that's done, you guys can see just enough to pivot it so you can pop out the frame rails from underneath. Right, so I only pulled out 3 of those 13 millimeter bolts, just enough to move it. Then we're going to start labeling and unplugging all your electrical. That way you remember where everything goes. Careful with the clips because you can easily break them. So remember, take your time with this stuff, guys. You guys can see I don't have the motors labeled and everything right now, but I will. Here's a good example of taking your time with the clips so you don't break them. Just carefully slide that out, as you see. After you're done there, it's going to look pretty bare like this. Just remember where everything goes and be easy on the plugs and the wires. You guys can see they're all labeled now. Don't forget you got to take out the bolt for the seatbelt holder. Next, after we pull out this frame rail, I'm just going to show you guys real quick where those pins sit in this particular motor. So lifting this up, you guys can see again, being very careful with it, not to damage anything. I'm just going to show you guys quick. There's one of the pins there. They make them extremely difficult to get to. Of course, you know how manufacturing is, and there's the other one. That one's easy. After that, we're just going to come in here with a crowbar or something like it, and we're just going to slowly wedge it in between here, just enough to pop that pin and get it started. Once we get it started, that's the hardest part. After that, we can slowly start working it out with other methods, as you'll see soon.
Already done this side easy.
This one I've already popped out. To pull the upper arm out, just push down on the bar with a punch. So you guys can see you got to get a little bit creative here, find a way to wedge it out. I'm wedging it against the pliers. It works as a good pull method. Once you get it enough, you can just take your pliers and really just kind of yank it out the rest of the way, as you'll see in the next clip. But you want to take your time. You're dealing with plastic and metal. So once you've got it mostly out and you slowly start pulling it out, you just take your time and pop it right out, as you see me do here. After that's done, once we've got the motor out, we're gonna go and take our special bit, as you guys can see here, and start removing the screws and rebuild the gear system. You can see with the old one, it was where the spot it was sitting, where it was spinning and burnt the teeth. The remaining gear has a small space, but that's okay. That's it, as we've finished installing the new one, and we've greased the fuck up out of it. Now, you didn't see me do it, but I did put a lot of grease in there. Next, we're going to line up the pins and slowly push them in. This pin right up here, this silver one, is in the wrong way. I just want to note that right now, okay? And you won't see me turn it around. I forgot to film it. So keeping in mind that silver pin needs to be turned around up at the top of the screen there. Once it is, make sure it's in all the way. If it's not, it'll stop the mechanism from working. And put a little grease in there too. Grease never hurts with this shit. So for the next part, we're plugging in 2 connectors just to make sure it works, and it does. There's a little hump, but that makes sense because the other side of the gear hit a little tooth, so, but that's not going to affect it. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall all our bolts in the frame. We're going to slowly start torquing them down and matching up all the electrical back in order as you've labeled it all. Once that's done, we can now start putting everything back together. We know it works, so we're just going to slowly start putting it back together the way we took it out, as you guys can see. Now I thought I lost the bolt, so I made a custom one. It actually looks pretty sexy, so I left it. Ended up finding the original, so now I got a spare. But you guys can see, this is just an example under the front of the frame that it is awkward to get to, but you guys can get to it with your 13mm socket. Some you have to do by wrench, you know. But yeah, as you guys can see me do here, just you got to take your time with it though. Obviously it's a hard place to reach. I mean, I could have used a deep socket. Now this clip shows, you can see the one in the front and the one in the back of the rail there. Now once it's all done, this is what it'll look like. You know, everything works up and down, whatever, side to side, vertical. But you're gonna hear that little hump because the other original gear got a little splice in it from you know, the other gear rubbing against it when it wasn't working. So that's to be expected when we're replacing it, and it doesn't change. The functionality still works real well. So you guys can see that's the whole video. Dodge Ram 2000s. Alright you guys, that's the job. I'm off to bed. Don't forget to subscribe if you dig it. And that's it. We'll see you guys. Peace.